Beyond the Gates spoilers tease that Martin Richardson is holding on to a massive secret, one that could topple more than just his own reputation. This isn't just personal shame or a private scandal. It's systemic, historic, and tied into the very infrastructure of the community that surrounds him. For years, Martin has maintained the image of a calm, calculating man with impeccable taste and civic virtue. But beneath the surface lies a network of complicit players who have worked hard to keep that image intact. Because if Martin falls, they fall too. The stakes are high. And they're about to get higher. Martin's secret is rooted in a decades-old incident, one involving land, money, and a disappearance that was never solved. The town knows the story vaguely. Whispers of a young man who went missing in 1996 after threatening to expose corruption in a local development project. That project, of course, was spearheaded by Martin. And though nothing was ever proven, there were enough questions to warrant concern. Over the years, those questions were buried under bureaucratic jargon and redevelopment paperwork. But some people didn't forget. And now, those people are talking. Among them is Joey Armstrong, a real estate broker with a quiet vendetta. Joey's younger brother was close to the missing man back then. Since then, Joey has played the game, climbing ranks and forming alliances, even pretending to admire Martin publicly. But behind the scenes, he has been feeding files and recordings to a network of anonymous investigators. His right-hand man, Randy Parker, has helped coordinate these efforts. Randy is street smart, connected to both political figures and the underworld. If Joey is the mind, Randy is the hand. But even Randy knows this isn't just another political takedown. Martin's web stretches too far. One of the most dangerous threads is Sheriff Elon Hawthorne, the town's longtime law enforcement figure and the father of Jacob Hawthorne. On the surface, Elon is a hard-nosed, no-nonsense enforcer of the law. But his history with Martin goes way back. The two served on community boards, fundraising committees, and secretive advisory councils. Elon is also one of the only people who knows exactly what happened in 1996. It wasn't just a disappearance. It was a murder. Covered up by a falsified autopsy, a swapped identity, and a buried body on land now paved over by a luxury mall. And it wasn't just Martin who was responsible. Elon approved the police report. Randy, then a low-level fixer, helped dispose of evidence. Joey's mentor, now long dead, signed off on the coroner's statement. The ripple effect of this crime has shaped the entire town for years. And now it's all unraveling. Jacob Hawthorne, Elon's son, has always felt that something about his father didn't add up. Jacob, a tech entrepreneur turned activist, left the town years ago to pursue a different path. But he's recently returned after the mysterious death of his moth-era death that Jacob suspects wasn't natural. His investigations into old family files led him to inconsistencies, photos with timestamps that didn't match, and surveillance footage mysteriously erased. He begins digging. And the deeper he goes, the more Martin's name keeps appearing. Jacob crosses paths with Joey and Randy, initially as an opponent. He thinks they're corrupt brokers like his father. But over time, alliances shift. A tense meeting in an underground parking lot changes everything. Joey, tired of playing diplomat, finally hands Jacob a flash drive. Everything you want to know is on here. Just be ready for what comes next. What comes next is fire. Jacob releases a fraction of the data to a freelance journalist. The resulting article is explosive but vague enough to avoid litigation. It speaks of a town leader with ties to a 1996 cover-up and names several high-profile real estate transfers as suspicious. Martin is furious. Elon demands damage control. Pamela Cross, the city attorney and one of Martin's oldest allies, starts issuing threats. But Jacob isn't stopping. He holds a town hall meeting, live-streamed to thousands. He presents documents, audio recordings, and drone footage of land now confirmed to be the burial site. He stops short of outright accusations, but frames the data as a call for transparency. The town erupts. Old alliances fracture. People who once defended Martin go silent. Others demand investigations. And then the violence starts. One night, Jacob's car is firebombed. No casualties, but the message is clear. Elon orders increased patrols, but does nothing to investigate. Joey and Randy go underground, meeting only in safe houses. Whispers suggest that Martin has hired outsiders to do his dirty work, now mercenaries with no ties to the town. But resistance builds. A group of local veterans, construction workers, and activists form an alliance. They call themselves the Gatekeepers. Armed with tools, evidence, and resolve, they prepare for confrontation. Their plan isn't just to expose the truth, but to dismantle the system protecting it. Pamela Cross files an injunction to stop Jacob from holding another town hall. The court date is chaotic. Protesters line the streets. Some wear masks. Others hold photos of the missing man from 1996. Jacob testifies calmly. Elon glares from the back of the room. Martin doesn't show up. That night, someone breaks into the sheriff's office. Files go missing. A vault is cracked. Surveillance video captures nothing. But the damage is done. Jacob receives an anonymous package the next day. Inside is a folder of unredacted reports, including the original autopsy. It proves the timeline was altered. Martin knows his time is short. He starts liquidating assets, transferring funds offshore. But it's too late. The Gatekeepers have what they need. A public dossier is released online, detailing the corruption, the cover-up, the names involved. Panic spreads through the elite. But the war isn't over yet. Because Martin won't go down without a fight. And as the town braces for the reckoning, everyone must choose a side. The real battle is just beginning. Sheriff Elon Hawthorne watches as the streets around City Hall flood with protesters. For the first time in his career, he's afraid of the people he's sworn to protect. But he's too deeply entrenched to pull back now. Elon begins deputizing private contractors under emergency provisions, creating an armed barrier around key government buildings. He claims it's to maintain order. In reality, it's about preserving what's left of the old guard. Jacob doesn't flinch. With Randy Parker as his main conduit to the underground, he organizes what becomes known as the Disclosure Mark, a direct push to force arrests and resignations. Veterans from the Gatekeepers take positions at major intersections, directing protesters and watching for trouble. They don't just chant. They carry hard drives, affidavits, old case files scanned into cloud servers. Joey Armstrong finally steps out from the shadows, holding a press conference on the courthouse steps. He confirms everything: the land fraud, the money laundering, the body cover-up. He doesn't spare himself either. "I was part of the silence," he says. "But I won't be part of the lie anymore." Martin Richardson, watching from a high-rise suite, knows the center is collapsing. But his final move is already in motion. He's arranged for key players including Pamela Cross to board a private plane and vanish into a legal limbo. Pamela refuses. She confronts Martin directly, furious he would abandon everything they built. "This isn't a retreat," she says. "It's a surrender." Martin, unbothered, reminds her that survival has always been his art. Pamela leaves, alone, and heads straight to Elon. Their last meeting is brutal. She gives him the files she's kept hidden for years, proof of everything. "I've already sent a copy to Jacob," she says. "Your choice now is whether you walk into court or get dragged." Elon, cornered and cracking, agrees to negotiate. But not everyone is backing down. Martin's mercenaries, sensing collapse, go rogue. They open fire during a demonstration outside the mayor's office. Chaos erupts. 2 protesters are killed, several injured. The Gatekeepers retaliate. A full-blown riot breaks out across downtown. Fire, glass, sirens. Randy Parker pulls Jacob out just in time. They retreat to a safe house where Tracy Armstrong, Joey's sister, and a former combat medic, begins coordinating triage for the wounded. The town has turned into a battleground. But for the first time, the truth is winning. By morning, Elon Hawthorne is in custody. Joey turns over his files to a federal agent. Pamela testifies under oath. And Martin Richardson, stripped of protection, is finally arrested as he attempts to cross state lines. The aftermath is devastating. Buildings are scorched. Lives are lost. But the silence is broken. Jacob stands before a town square littered with debris, but filled with resolve. This was never about vengeance, he says. It was about restoring memory. About making sure we don't forget again. And the gate doesn't just reopen. It resets. The town begins to rebuild not just in infrastructure, but in spirit. The war is over. The reckoning complete. But the legacy, now reclaimed, is just beginning to take root. 3 months later, the town stands changed. The buildings still bear scars of fire and stone, but the air feels different. Lighter. The people walk with cautious hope. A truth that had long been buried beneath politics and profit is now carved into the consciousness of every corner. And at the heart of the change are the survivors, not just those who endured the violence, but those who chose to confront it. Jacob Hawthorne has emerged, reluctantly, as a civic leader. Refusing offers to run for office, he instead spearheads the Truth and Restoration Council, a civilian-led body charged with overseeing reforms in law enforcement, real estate, and local governance. His focus remains clear: institutional transparency, youth education, and digital archives of public records. For Jacob, the victory isn't in revenge. It's in rewriting the rules that allowed corruption to thrive. Randy Parker, after weeks of laying low, comes forward and cooperates with the Department of Justice. His knowledge proves vital in securing convictions beyond just Martin and Elon. He names brokers, judges, even journalists who played minor but crucial roles in the conspiracy. In exchange for full immunity, Randy agrees to testify in open court. When the trial begins, the town watches him speak with calm clarity, never flinching. To some, he remains a traitor to the old world. But to others, he's a man finally paying his debt the right way. Pamela Cross disappears from public view. After her testimony, she resigns and leaves town, quietly taking up work with an independent legal reform group on the East Coast. Occasionally, her name appears in quiet citations on bills drafted to prevent local corruption. She never grants interviews. She never returns to the town. But her final act, handing over the files that broke the story wide open, becomes the first page in a new civic textbook assigned in high schools the following year. Joey Armstrong declines all book deals, all speaking engagements. Instead, he invests his real estate holdings into a public trust designed to fund housing and business development for families affected by the scandal. One property, a vast tract of land near the site of the 1996 crime, is donated for a memorial park. It is dedicated to the missing man, now identified, and to others whose voices were silenced over the years. At the opening ceremony, Joey stands at the edge of the crowd, silent, hat in hand. The gatekeepers don't disband. They evolve. What began as a resistance becomes a grassroots civic watchdog group, with branches forming in neighboring towns. Their motto, now etched into the wall outside City Hall: silence is consent. Memory is power. Martin Richardson faces the full weight of federal prosecution. In court, he remains stone-faced, denying responsibility until the very end. When found guilty on multiple counts of fraud, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice, he receives a 30-year sentence. In prison, he attempts to write a memoir, but no publisher will touch it. His name, once synonymous with sophistication and success, becomes a warning tale across the state. Sheriff Elon Hawthorne's plea deal spares him life in prison, but strips him of his pension, rank, and public standing. He spends his days under supervised release, working as a laborer at a state facility. Jacob never visits him. The most profound change, however, is cultural. The town no longer trusts silence. At local coffee shops, strangers talk politics. At school boards, parents challenge leadership. At police stations, body cameras are non-negotiable. Reform isn't complete, but it has begun, not with force, but with awareness. One summer evening, Jacob visits the memorial park. The setting sun casts golden light across the grass. Children run through sprinklers. Teenagers play music near a statue honoring victims of the 1996 cover-up. Randy joins him on a bench, passing a cold drink. "You ever think it would come to this?" Randy asks. Jacob shakes his head. "I didn't think it could. But I hoped." They sit in silence, not out of discomfort, but of shared peace. Nearby, a small group of students prepare to shoot a documentary about the events. They interview older residents, film city buildings, and ask questions that echo the ones Jacob once did. They don't accept easy answers. Legacy, in the end, is not what is built. It's what is remembered and how. And in this town, memory has finally come through the gate.